just doing what the album title is saying. Welcome back to Y.E.S, everyone. Today we're going to review Nobody Is Listening, the third studio album released by Zayn. As intros would expect you to mention, the former One Directioner guy is finally releasing another album after, I believe it was 2 years ago, where he released this really long album at the very end of December, which I did not review. Maybe one day. I'm thinking I want to catch up on the One Direction albums at one point. But yeah, we get to talk about this one today. In a time where I feel like gradually I'm starting to understand each one on an individual basis, now that we're getting to see what they are able to throw out and dish out to us on that individual level right there. It's kind of interesting to try and see what we got here from Zayn, because I feel like when he first came on to the solo scene, we got kind of a vague but also basic idea of what a solo artist he was going to turn out to be. I didn't dislike nor did I like the music that he was releasing that were the radio hits that I was paying attention to when he was first trying to figure out who he was as an artist. Solo artist. Gotta, keep throwing it out there. But I guess he decided to mellow out like a lot in this album, because this album, similar to some other songs I think I can probably use this word correctly in this instance, criticize. Yes, I critique things technically, but on my channel, I really am just trying to separate to the good from the bad and try to figure out, hey, you know what? You should pay attention to this. And this other stuff, not so much. I mean, you can if you want to, but my recommendation is this stuff is better. And in this instance, I'm unfortunately sad to say that I don't think this is really something that you should give a lot of time to. Let's try and break this album down, as I usually do, with 3 categories and then a recommendation. Production, it's fine. I don't think that this production is bad, but it is slow, and I am trying to figure out if I am supposed to blame the creative aspect a little bit more than the production aspect. But I think there's enough credit or discredit to be thrown into this category, because there is almost a very strange, consistent flow of being too dragged down in this album. It's not true for all of the songs, but for the songs I think I just don't like that much the most, it really stands out. Then we get into the creative side. I would say that he is very torn. Most likely he was trying to bring in the mood. And what I mean by that, I mean like actually moody. Like trying to get it down into, it's not really emo, but it is trying to say like, hey, notice this is emotional. Emotional. I have no idea what I was just doing there. Things that I don't think work on the creative side. Number 1, the first song, Calamity. This is, basically his intro to the actual title track in a way. Nobody Is Listening. I wouldn't want to listen to this first track on any album whatsoever. This is just weird. It's him trying to be one of those narcissistic poets that's trying to tell you something and showing you how really deep into his mind is right now, and that's not really persuasive. You've got to show it, not express it. You really need to show it by putting in the work, the effort, and then indeed harnessing creativity. It's not about spewing it out thinking that everybody should just accept it so. That's not how creativity works. Along with that, I would say a lot of the songs near the end kind of just get into that dogged down version of the tempo that just doesn't work for the songs. And then it just lacks the ingredients that would make the song worth listening to that leads into the other category of expression and lyrics. They're not that great also in the latter half of the album. In general, this album has some issues lyrically from my perspective, but by the time you get to the third verse in many of these songs, you're just like hoping that something switches up once it hits the bridge, or once, another verse comes along, and you just want something to be added or something to be taken away, something that's saying, hey, I'm going to show you layers into the music, into the songs. It's not happening. It's just some sort of consistent, boring nothingness that goes on and on and on. A great example of this is the very last song, titled River Road. This tries to pick it up in the chorus, throwing in just anything that could switch the song up from the bogginess. I am just doled out from listening to whatever it is this mood or superficial ambiance he's trying to give out to us. Regardless, I can tell it's trying to get something out in the chorus, but it's not enough to keep me interested and definitely not even remotely engaged. Similarly with the song Sweat, I actually think the percussion in this song is effective, but again, those slow beats are just monotonous. It hardly creates the effect that this is the one that is going to make the actual standout that should be a staple for the album, because in the end, it's like that's just one minute thing versus the rest of the album that is just going to say like, well, it was a different song, but that other song was a different song, but there's hardly any differences between the two. I know I feel like I'm going to be repeating myself a lot when I say these things, but it's just what's going to happen, because that is indeed what happened in this album. Now, strangely enough, I have a weird way that I'm going to wrap up this album review. There are two songs in here that I actually think are kind of okay. The song When Love's Around that features Sid, it's like a subtle trap beat with more of a classical, super mellow vibe. That in itself, I thought, all right, well, that was enough. That was enough. And then the song Tightrope. Now, I still thought this song was slow, but there was enough in the production that was switched up to keep me vastly more interested in the song, because it kind of goes for a Hindi kinds of lyrics, and the production tries to hint that it's going in that same lane. But by the end of listening to it for the second time, I wondered why I was not drooling on my table or on the floor by the end of it. This is not something that I think other people are going to find a lot of emotional investment, unless you are just one of those people who just are stans of the artist kind of thing. And others of you would probably defend the idea that it's just a different mode of expression. Sure, yeah, it's different. That doesn't equate to quality. That's what we look for, those of us who care to share our thoughts on these albums. I mean, that's what I would hope, that we would talk about quality. I find it very low. Again, besides those two songs. Despite all that, I really don't hate this album. I just know that I have no investment in recommending it. So, after having listened and reviewed this album, I'm going to give production a C, creativity an F, expression and lyrics an F, and this album is going to get...
Oh, no.
I just know that, there's no chance I'm ever going to care about listening to the other 9 songs out of the 11. No. So, yeah, that 2 out of 11, yeah, I would say, most people would be like, well, that doesn't sound very appealing, right? If you take my word for it, then, yeah. And so... that's what I have to say. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me in my social media links down in the description below, and be sure to leave a like for the video as well as a comment down below if you want to engage with me. And remember, if you want to discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can get that yes in your life. See you next time. No, I did not include any clips for the songs I did like in this review because it's hard for me to want to do that when I know I'm not going to recommend the album. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I'm just going to say, if you paid attention or you need to go back, just check those 2 songs out and then be done with it.